Episode 3. The Vision. The maid sent by the hotel manager opened the door of the diplomat's room for us. "Come in, please." I could tell she was uncomfortable around us. She was hesitant and avoided eye contact. I didn't have time to dwell on it, though. I was only focused on work. It's so hot in here. It's true. It's stuffy enough to pass out. Open the windows, please. Right away, sir. The maid rushed to the windows at the end of the room and began opening them one by one. The maid wasn't joking when she said Hayes wouldn't air the room. It's like we're in a sauna. I can't imagine living here. His paranoia must have really gotten out of hand if he slept in such a hot and stale room just to avoid opening the windows. I looked around the room. We haven't found anything strange yet. The day's still young. Let's take a look around. We need to examine... There's nothing more to examine. Let's try his personal belongings. I want to take a look at his desk. I wonder if he left anything there. That's a good idea, Miss Khan. It's the first compliment he's gave us. The team is slowly scattered around the room. I walked over to a modest desk not far from the bed. There was nothing on it apart from the desk lamp. I opened a drawer and found a stack of papers. Well, well. I saw documents. Take a look. These are... his documents. I turned around and saw Killian standing behind me, carefully examining the contents of the drawer. His passport, embassy ID, even his health insurance. He wouldn't just flee and leave everything behind, wouldn't he? No, he wouldn't. It's weird then. Where could he have gone without his documents and for so long? Killian crossed his arms over his chest and staring into the distance. He was deep in thought. Do you have any ideas? I do, Miss Khan. Not very optimistic, I'm afraid. You don't think... Nothing specific yet. However, I wouldn't count on a good outcome for our case. I pursed my lips and walked away from the desk. I'll look at something else. We need to examine his diary. I'd noticed a small book on the nightstand. That's his diary. Yeah, let's look through it. It'll be interesting to learn what Hayes' thoughts were. That's a great idea. Let's do it. Lima and I walked over the nightstand with the diary. His diary. Take it. I read Ratton's voice as I touched the smooth leather cover. You should look through it. I saw him use that diary. You saw him use it? Yes. As I said, the diplomat requested not to be accompanied. He asked to be briefed about staying in Calcutta, a rule book of sorts. He wrote it down all in his diary. I picked up the small book and opened it. The first thing I saw was the record of some meetings the diplomat had in London. I started flipping through the pages. A few pages in, I got to the part where Mr. Hayes listed the safety rules for India. Don't walk the streets at night, avoid the Calcutta slums, don't go inside a temple with your shoes on. Nothing strange so far. What's this? Lima immediately appeared next to me. We both noticed tiny shreds of paper still attached to the binding. A page had been roughly torn out. He tore out a page. Doesn't that seem weird to you? Furiously tore it out of that, and again, and again. I started looking through the diary. Every third page had been ripped out. Lima raised her eyebrows in surprise. Did Hayes do this? I seriously doubt that. Why would he want to get rid of his own records? I looked around the room, warily, running my hand over my neck. This looks bad. Let's take it with us. I opened my purse and immediately put the diary inside. I'll read it at home, in a quieter setting. Moving on. We need to examine the bathroom. Do you think it's worth checking the bathroom? Yes, that's a good idea. I can help, if you want. I looked at Killian and Lima, who were discussing something by the window. Mr. Rose was also busy. Sure, let's go. We entered the sparsely furnished room. There were no personal belongings except for a toothbrush, toothpaste, and a brush on the sink. There's not much to see. Yes, just a toothbrush and a brush. I nodded as I silently repeated Ratton's words to myself, and then I frowned. Wait, a toothbrush and a brush? Those are toiletries. That's right. And they are still here. Where would a diplomat go without his toothbrush? Well, he could easily buy a new one. True, but something doesn't add up. We need to put the pieces together to be able to see the full picture. Let's go back. Ratton let me out first, and followed me out of the bathroom. We need to examine... Well, there's nothing more to examine. What else should we look at? Seems like we've covered everything. I agree. Let's regroup and think about the case. So, what do we got here? His IDs and documents are here. Several pages have been roughly torn out of his diary. His toiletries are also here. It's almost as if he stepped out for a bit and is about to come back. But he disappeared. We haven't heard from him in over a week. The diary is confusing me. The pages were ripped out as if someone wanted to destroy whatever was written on them. Sounds plausible. If so, then the disappearance of the diplomat was not an accident. This is bad. This is very bad for us. Was it an accident? Are you saying that something happened to him? I have a few other ideas as well. For example, maybe he suddenly got into Hinduism, abandoned his belongings, tore out the pages from his diary in a frenzy, and became a monk. Which one of those scenarios do you think is more likely? I glared at him. Your sarcasm is out of place. Then don't ask stupid questions, Amala. We've all seen the same things. We all came to the same conclusion, which is upsetting and also the most likely. Calm down, Captain Lightwood. None of us are happy with the possibility that the diplomat has been kidnapped or worse. Killian sighed heavily and softened his gaze as he looked at me. I apologize, Miss Khan. I'm confused and annoyed. I hate being in limbo. It's all good. I looked away as I tiredly ran my fingers through my hair. This case didn't look good. Turning away from the team, I began pacing the room. I wanted to be alone with my thoughts to reflect on what we knew so far. Is this really what happened? Was the diplomat been kidnapped? But why? How long will we have to stay in Calcutta, and where's all this going to lead? Deep in thought, my gaze fell on the floor. I froze in place. Let me guess, no one else noticed something? My attention was drawn to something small and inconspicuous on the floor, near the closet. At first I thought it was rubbish. I knelt down, leaned in closer. It took me a moment to realize what I was looking at. That's someone's fingernail. A small nail, little, dirty, and stained with blood, laid at the front of the closet. Keep calm. I swallowed quietly, fighting the urge to scream. There's something here. I couldn't recognize my own voice. My colleagues fell silent, turning towards me. Without saying anything, I walked up to the closet, past the nail, and opened its doors. The room was deafening quiet. Everyone stared at the closet. Someone had scraped and clawed at the doors from the inside. Nail scratches covered most of the wooden surface. You could see several bloody streaks and fingerprints. What's this? Killian and Lima were already there, examining the nail on the floor and the scratches on the closet doors. I could see disgust and fear on their faces. Was that him? Did Hayes do that? My God, what a nightmare. Ratton stood silently behind us. He was staring at the closet and the carpet, considering something. What if it wasn't him? What if the diplomat wasn't the one who did it? We need to send the nail for testing, dust for fingerprints, collect blood samples from the doors. So we'll know for sure. Yes, Miss Berg. That's right. That's what needs to be done. Well, he seems like in shell shock. It seemed that even our team leader felt sick. He pulled a handkerchief out of his pocket and wiped his forehead. Mr. Vaish, find a phone, please. Call your local police station and forensic experts. Tell them to collect everything here and send the samples to London as soon as possible. I'll give you the address of the lab. I don't trust local experts. All right. I'll take care of it. Ratan left silently. I'm not feeling very well. It's still very stuffy in here. I think I'll go into the hallway to get some fresh air. Killian looked at my pale, frightened face. Let's get out of here. We got everything we came for. Right, we're leaving. He didn't check under the bed, just saying. Mr. Rose staggered out of the door, followed by Lima and Killian. What happened here? What a nightmare Mr. Hayes had to go through. Was he attacked, or maybe he went insane and scratched the doors? It was then I realized that I was on my own in the room. I didn't want to be alone with this creepy closet, and the atmosphere had become heavy and uncomfortable. I wanted to get out of there right away. I took only a few steps towards the door before my head started spinning. Oh. I became disoriented and staggered. No, don't faint. I reached for the wall and leaned against it awkwardly. Everything went dark for a moment. I closed my eyes, trying to fight the dizziness. I counted to 5 and opened my eyes again. Cthulhu, is that you? Suddenly, everything had changed. It was like I had been transported to another world. An eerie red haze descended upon the room. Shadows were forming close to the floor. The room became hot and stuffy again. There wasn't enough air. I slowly slid down the wall, feeling my legs growing weaker. I could not speak, trapped in a mix of shock and surprise. I noticed movement out of the corner of my eye. The closet doors slammed shut. I tried to make a sound, but it felt as if sand had been poured down my throat. Shadows flicked on the walls. I shuddered, but did not dare move. No, oh God, no! There was a loud bang. The closet shook. Oh! Someone's shadow darted along the wall. It didn't make any sense. It could not possibly belong to anyone. I was completely alone in the room, but there were footsteps clamoring, blows, and other people's voices all around me. I felt as if I was at the epicenter of something, all while sitting in an empty room. You're making a lot of noise, but it's all for nothing. There are things that are inevitable, things that are destined to happen. You could run, you could hide, and you'd still end up here. A second shadow appeared on the wall and moved slowly, imposingly, as if there was no rush. It was as if I already knew what was going to happen and didn't want to waste any energy chasing someone who would fall into his hands anyway. Both voices were male. Please, I'm not going to tell anyone. I'll lie. I will lie. I swear on my life. Your life? Deep laughter reverberated through the room. You can't save your life either. Your life, your soul, your will. Everything belongs to her. The first shadow wavered. It took off running, attempting to escape. Still, it was just a shadow flickering on the wall. Something rattled along the wall where the first shadow was running. The second shadow had an object in its hand. A sickle-like object. Oh my God. I clutched at my sari, oblivious to the fact that my hands were shaking. I couldn't take my eyes off the shadow, so I kept watching. Where are you running to? Any pass will eventually lead to her. She is here. She's not going anywhere. Because she's tired of waiting. Don't put it off any longer. Humbly accept what many dream of. Here. She's here. Can't you see? My chest grew cold and heavy. I began to look around for the one they were talking about. I had the unsettling sensation that I wasn't alone, that someone was standing nearby watching me. Then everything happened so quickly. Ah! The first shadow dashed towards the exit door. Fool! The second shadow quickly caught up to its victim, swung its sickle, and a dark crimson liquid splattered on me. The second shadow snatched the first, pulling it close. The victim whimpered and twitched. My hand! Here. She is here. Okay, 10 out of 10 on this one. An intense hypnotic gaze seemed to be pointed right at me. I held my breath, not daring to break eye contact. She smiled. The smile was meant for me. The female silhouette disappeared. The second shadow dragged the first one to the door to leave the room. Right then, the door abruptly swung open. Amala. Killian rushed over to where he saw me lying on the floor, pale and terrified. Strong hands grabbed my shoulders. Killian carefully scanned the room before turning to face me. What happened, Amala? Why were you screaming? I'm not feeling well. You're shaking. I awkwardly raised my trembling hand and beads of sweat appeared on my skin. Please, let's get out of here. Killian remained silent as he helped me get up, holding me by my elbow. I got to my feet, gently pulling away from Killian. I wanted to walk to the door on my own without looking weak and scared in front of my colleagues. It's fine, I can walk on my own. You look dreadful. Let me help you. It's fine. I just need to get some fresh air. I get that you want to be independent, but you're shaking. I wrapped my arms around myself, still unable to calm down. Memories from a moment ago consumed my mind. Without saying a word, I headed for the door. He sighed wearily, resigning himself to my stubbornness. Finally, I glanced at the closet, open as if nothing had happened, and its frantically scratched doors. Lima and Mr. Rose were standing near the balcony, staring at the entrance to the diplomat's room. They clearly heard me screaming and looked very concerned. Rattan joined us right as Killian and I came out of the room. Everything's taken care of, Mr. Rose. Oh, thank you. Miss Connor, you, My heart was racing. Everyone was waiting to know what happened. Keep your cool. I took a deep breath, straightened my back, and looked at my colleagues. I hid my trembling hands behind my back and forced a smile. Everything's fine. An outright lie. But no one was going to take me seriously if I gave in to emotions and hysteria so easily, so I needed to keep my cool. The door slammed shut. I couldn't open it and got scared. It was stuffy in there. We thought something happened to you. Killian raised his eyebrows at my calm response. Less than a minute ago, I was shaking in fear on the floor. Amala, you came out of there looking as pale as a ghost. Are you really fine? Yes, thank you for your concern, Lima. I screamed for you to hear me and not leave me accidentally locked up in a room alone. Yeah, she ain't buying it either. She clearly didn't believe me, but no one tried to argue with me. If anything, my colleagues seemed impressed by my ability to keep my emotions in check and looked at me with respect. Are you sure you're fine? Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Vayesh. So listen up, everyone. The team leader decided to shift the focus of attention away from me and back to our case. After recapping the information we gathered, Mr. Rose let us go home. We didn't have much to do until the lab tests were ready. Killian, Lima, and Mr. Rose could just go to the rooms. Mr. Vayesh offered to take me to the Calhoun's house in a taxi. Killian wanted to take me personally, but I convinced him to rest instead. The day was finally drawing to a close. A fragrant smell filled the room. Santa set the table and served dinner. Our plates were filled to the brim with all the food the cook prepared. I couldn't tell if this was a regular dinner for them or if they were trying to impress me. I wasn't hungry and didn't pay attention to the food. Amala, honey, you didn't even touch your plate. You don't like it? Of course I like it, Miss Kahan. I'm just not hungry. How so? That's nonsense. Come on, eat something. Those who are hungry miss out on good complexion. Here, have some curry and rice. I'll wrap it in a roti for you. It'll be even more delicious. Priyanka began heaping curry into the roti, which seemed like it was about to burst with all the filling. Meritil, what are you doing to our guest? She can eat later if she doesn't want it now. Take this, Sana. Bring it to Amala's room later. Priyanka shook her head in disapproval, but Aryan just smiled. Although I was still rattled, Priyanka's motherly presence made me smile. I'll eat everything before bed, I promise. Dear goats, she's going to eat right before bed. Aryan laughed cheerfully. I collapsed onto the bed and closed my eyes, exhausted. My mind was instantly flooded with the memories of the day. I am so confused. I can't even understand what I saw. What was that? What happened there? How could it have happened? Where did those voices come from? Why did the closet door slam shut on their own? I got lost in the never-ending stream of questions in my head. I don't understand what's happening to me. There's absolutely no one I can talk to about this. As soon as I say anything, my colleagues will immediately assume I'm crazy. I wouldn't have believed it myself. I sat on the edge of the bed, remembering those eyes. Who was that? Why did they stare at me? A knock on the door made me jump. Santa appeared in the doorway. Excuse me, miss. There's a phone call for you. Who's calling? I didn't ask. I got out of bed and followed the maid into the hallway. I went to the landline and I was about to pick up the phone when I noticed Santa staring at me. What is it? Miss shouldn't wear her nightwear outside her room. The maid laughed. My pajamas are bothering everyone in this house. I picked up the phone. Hello, Amala Khan speaking. But you're supposed to throw in your sorry. Are you always so serious when you pick up the phone? Captain Lightwood? Good evening. I'm not sure what happened in that room. You look terrified. So I'm calling to see if you're fine. Thank you. I'm feeling much better. I'm not going to push you to tell me what happened. But if you ever feel like talking about this or anything else, you can always come to me. Killian called because he's worried about you. I felt slightly embarrassed. Thank you, Captain Lightwood. That's very kind of you. It's okay. We're on the same team. I don't want anything to distract you from your work. I see. That's all I wanted to say. See you tomorrow. Good night, Amala. Good night, Captain Lightwood. He hung up. Interesting. Turns out Killian isn't that bad. The phone call left me with mixed feelings, but most importantly, it distracted me from my thoughts and stopped me from going insane. Time to go to bed. My brain works much better in the morning. Saw Santa come up the stairs. She was carrying a food tray. Miss Khan, I'm bringing you dinner. I was under strict orders to bring you something to eat. I can guess who ordered it. Bring it here, please. Has your appetite returned? A little bit. The maid served me a simple meal. Dinner tray. I was about to go back into my room when I heard Santa's voice behind me. Did something happen to you today? What do you mean? The maid shrugged, but her gaze remained serious. You were unusually pale when you came home and didn't touch your food at dinner. Just some trouble at work, that's all. I warned you to be careful and stick with your attaché. Literally, we were with our attaché. Thank you for caring. I don't think you have any idea of what happened to me. Are you sure about that? Captain Lightwood couldn't have helped me. So it's even worse than I thought. For some reason, her words startled me. I squeezed the tray tighter. What are you talking about? I warned you that bad things were going to happen. The deeper you'll go, the more you'll discover. A creak of the floorboards came from somewhere down the hallway. We both turned quickly in the direction of the noise, but all was silent again. It's not safe to talk here. I can only tell you more if you tell me about what happened to you today. If you don't want to talk any longer, I'll leave. Fine. For some reason, I feel like you're the only one who's gonna believe me. I don't think so. Well, let's see what you think after you hear everything. Santa and I headed to my room to avoid talking in the hallway. When we got to my room, I told Santa what happened in the diplomat's hotel room. I tried to avoid describing my emotions by focusing only on the facts. I told her about the voices, the shadows, how things moved on their own, and about how I seemed to go back in time because even the room looked different. I only left one detail out, the female shadow on her gaze. You decided to share your vision. Your choice will affect the future. Miss, what you've described is incredible. I knew you wouldn't believe me. No, I do believe you. But things aren't looking good right now. I don't know what exactly your strange vision means, but one thing I know for sure, you can see more than ordinary people. What do you mean? Your perception is more powerful than regular people. An invisible veil separates us from the other world, but you can peer past it to see what many eyes are unable to perceive. One could say that you are closer to the other world than most other people. You are not alone. Some Brahmins also have strong connection with the spiritual realm. Aren't Brahmins the highest caste in India? Experts in the Vedas and other sacred texts? Yes, miss, they are respected and admired. And those descended from the ancient Brahmin lineage whose ancestors passed on their knowledge from generation to generation can perceive much more than ordinary people. But my family is not Brahmin. They were regular people who left India. What could have caused my vision then? I'm afraid I can't answer your question, miss. I know very little about this. I only told you what I know. I was confused. This was not very helpful. Really? At least now you know you're not crazy. There's a reason you saw what you did. You just need to dig deeper. But it could be dangerous right now. Why? The maid paced the room with her hands clasped behind her back. Trouble is ahead. It's especially dangerous for those who can perceive more than most people. Brahmins who study the sacred Indian texts and know more than most get ready for this period in advance. If you're not ready, you could go insane. Why? She literally just said she don't know. Calcutta's two major Indian holidays, Durga Puja and Kali Puja, are coming. The festivals honoring the two incarnations of the same revered, beloved, and powerful goddess. And why is this period considered dangerous? The veil between the worlds is thinning. The divine is getting closer to us. Positive, negative energies, the energy of death, tantric rituals, power of karma, the flow of sacred energy of the Maya. All is amplified, affecting us to a greater extent. Those who are most susceptible to this should prepare mentally. Otherwise, the abundance of visions, information, and energy will drive a person insane. I frowned and shook my head. Hold on, you're acting as if all this is real. Santa looked at me, surprised.
Don't you believe in this? Aren't you a Hindu, miss?
No, Hinduism is something like mythology to me. In London, where I grew up, most people follow another religion.
I didn't ask you about everyone else. What is your soul telling you?
My soul is silent. The maid just kept staring at me.
Isn't what happened to you today causing you to question your beliefs?
Not enough for me to believe in Shiva, Ganesha, Parvati, and everyone else.
Well, I think what will happen next will make you think it over once more.
What do you mean by that?
Exactly what I said. Time will tell. You will see for yourself that everything is far more complicated than atheists believe.
I mean, typically in London, that's not really what everyone's there doing. Usually it's the Vatican bullshit, but you know. Sure, atheism, let's go with that. This conversation took a strange turn.
Just be careful.
I will be careful. Thanks for the warning, I'll try to be cautious. Santa, how did you come to know so much about this?
My parents used to work for a Brahmin family. I learned a lot from them. Those people were not Brahmins, yet they belonged to the caste by birthright.
Maid paused, glancing at her watch.
Oh, it's pretty late. Enjoy your dinner, miss. I'll get the tray tomorrow.
Santa headed out of the room. I watched her leave. I just wanted to learn more and get some answers, but I only got more confused. Santa must be mistaken. I am not from a Brahmin family, and I never had any special connection with the other world. Besides, I've never experienced anything like this before. What's the deal with this vision? Okay, there's no need to fill my head with such ideas right before bed, or I'll see something weird again. I quickly ate my dinner and went to bed. Have you ever sat and ate curry right before bed? Whew! It's gotta burn, I'm serious. I fell asleep instantly. My body seemed to be desperate need of a reboot after the stress it had endured. Voices and laughter coming from the first floor woke me up. The family were already up, and the house smelled like freshly baked cakes. I glanced at the clock. It was late morning, so I jumped out of bed and rushed to the bathroom. Damn. If I'm late, Mr. Rose will never let me hear the end of it. I have to get ready and run. I opened the closet. Today I wanted to wear something casual. Alright, something casual. We got unique look, simple elegance, timeless look. I'm gonna go with unique. I look fantastic. I'm gonna go with elegant hairdo. You know, who doesn't jump right out of bed and say, hey man, I better hurry to be late to work, just so you can do that hairstyle. It takes more than 5 minutes for that hair. I went downstairs and followed the voices to the living room.
Good morning, Amala. Good morning, Miss Khan.
Miss Cajon was sitting on the couch with a cup of tea in her hand. On the coffee table was a tray with a teapot and candy. Good morning, Miss Cajon. Sana, has anyone called me on the phone?
No, miss. No one has called and no one has visited.
All right, then.
Sit down, sweetheart. Have some tea. There are fresh cakes in the dining room.
Priyanka looked at me admiringly.
What a beauty you are. A rice sack would look as great on you as a beautiful sari.
I laughed shyly. Thank you.
Miss, can I get you some cakes to go with your tea?
Yes, please. Thank you, Santa. The maid left the living room. She acted as if our conversation yesterday never happened. I could be convinced that I'm hallucinating. Maybe our conversation was just a dream.
How long are you going to be in Calcutta for, Amala?
I'm not sure, but it looks like it will be a while. The woman nodded after taking a sip of her tea.
I really want you to stay here to enjoy the festivals. They are always so much fun. You will love India even more after you take part in our holidays. There's music, songs, rituals, everything is colorful and beautiful.
Festivals.
First, there's the Durga Puja, one of India's most colorful and well-loved festivals. Then there's the Kali Puja, which is a local holiday that we celebrate here in the West Bengal.
Okay, yesterday's conversation was definitely not a dream. When do these festivals start?
Miss Khan!
Suddenly the maid appeared in the living room looking slightly worried.
You have a visitor. She seems agitated, but I don't understand English well enough to find out what's the matter.
She? It's probably Lima. I got up from the couch and quickly headed to the front door. Outside I saw Lima, who really did look nervous.
Amala, come here quick.
I ran up to her. What happened?
Hurry, get into the taxi. There's a mess going on at work.
Please explain. What's going on?
Lightwood and Rose didn't want to call you and let you know. They were afraid you hadn't recovered after yesterday. I was furious. How can they make this decision for you? I got distracted for just a minute talking to Mr. Vayesh, and then I realized that Lightwood and Rose had already left. Outrageous.
So they didn't want part of you in it either.
I immediately rushed here to get you.
I grabbed Lima's hand to get her to focus on me.
Lima, what's the matter? What's going on?
She just stared at me for a few moments and pulled herself together and said,
A man's body was discovered by the police near our embassy. We need to head there as soon as possible.
A chilling thought crossed my mind. Was it the diplomat?
No.
Thank goodness. Then what do we have to do with this?
When we realized the diplomat's disappearance was a complicated case, Captain Lightwood contacted the local police through our guide. They agreed to report all murders that occurred under unusual circumstances. They must cooperate with our task force whether they like it or not.
But why do we need to know about unusual murders?
Killian is just a pessimist.
I see. So our colleagues went to a crime scene. What makes it so special?
It's a ritual murder.
Yeah, but again, what makes it so damn special? I'm just saying. One independence, one loyalty, one respect. Alright, without further ado, thank you all for watching. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Head down the description of the video. Plenty of things to check out there. And without further ado, I will say the following. So, TLDR. I'm a huge paranormal, I want to say buff, but more or less, I'll just give you a TLDR. When I was young, I had a lot of paranormal, supernatural, whatever you want to call it, things happen to me. And yeah, I very much believe in a lot of it. I very much do. More so than a lot of other things that are, belief or faith or things like that. Because these are things that actually happen to me that were like pretty out of this world. Even things that to this day, are still existent, still there. And no, there is a veil to another world, whether it be another multiverse, another universe, whatever. There is something on that other side that still does exist and still does happen from here or there. So if anything, this makes me kind of dig this book just a little bit more than it normally would. So yeah, looking forward to more of this. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Peace out.